Kare Mwapenduka, and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that keeps you up to date with the latest news in Africa and beyond. My name is Glenora Shipura, joined by Diana Master. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I love your boots.
Oh, thank you.
I've been asking for them ever since last winter.
Well, winter is upon us, so now it's time for you to see them in their full glory.
Yes.
I got more pairs, so...
Oh, that's good. So we're going to see other colors?
We're going to see other colors. We're going to see different variations, and I know you're going to be jealous.
Oh, okay. I don't like the sound of that.
Now let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. Probe as Malawi fire guts sensitive state offices. South African ministers' lavish home expenses raise eyebrows. Nigerian doctors suspend strike. Stick around, we'll be back with our top stories right after this break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Today is the 23rd of May 2023, and here are your top stories. Probe as Malawi fire guts sensitive state offices. Now, the Malawi government says it is investigating a mysterious fire in the capital Lilongwe that destroyed offices of key government departments holding sensitive information. Now, the fire gutted the last top 2 floors of a 7-story government building, destroying the government contracting unit, a department in the President and Cabinet's office. It also destroyed 2 departments in the Lands Ministry, the Lands Registry and Deeds Registry. An official described the offices as holding very sensitive information. The Community Service Department in the country's judiciary was also gutted in the fire, reported to have started at 11 p.m. local time on Saturday. Now, Information and Digitalization Minister Moses Kanyukwa said a probe led by the police, supported by other security agencies, was underway to establish the cause of the fire. Soon after news of the fire broke, social media was awash with insinuations the fire may have been the work of saboteurs and that critical information may have been lost. But the information minister said the information had been backed up digitally, assuring people not to worry about an alleged loss of information for nefarious reasons.
Now moving over, South African ministers' lavish home expenses raise eyebrows. The home expenses of South African ministers are under intense scrutiny Sunday after it was revealed that vast sums have been spent on curtains, kitchens and killing cockroaches. The leading opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, said it was submitting a complaint to the anti-graft watchdog about what appeared to be brazen corruption and tender inflation in the upkeep of ministerial mansions. Our country simply cannot afford to keep paying for the luxury lifestyles of ministers who live like rock stars while load shedding, unemployment and poverty are at crisis levels, Leon Schreiber, DA Shadow Minister for Public Service, said, using a local term to describe power outages. The move came after the government disclosed that between 2019 and 2022, it spent about 93 million rand to maintain 97 properties occupied by public representatives, including government ministers in Cape Town and Pretoria. The refurbishing of a Cape Town kitchen cost taxpayers 1.4 million rand, while replacing a curtain rail and getting rid of cockroaches at 2 separate Pretoria addresses were billed 54,000 and 240,000 rand respectively. The revelations are likely to add to the words of President Cyril Ramaphosa, who was championed as a graft-busting savior after the corruption-tainted tenure of predecessor Jacob Zuma, but has since been embroiled in scandals of his own.
Nigerian doctors suspend strike. Nigerian doctors in public hospitals have resumed work after suspending their 5-day nationwide strike to demand, among others, a salary increase of 200%. This follows a review of the commitments made by the federal government in their latest meeting. The National Association of Resident Doctors said now the association is demanding a 200% salary increment, hiring to replace professionals who have left the system, and an immediate upgrade of infrastructure in public hospitals. They are also calling for a withdrawal of a bill that seeks to stop doctors who have recently graduated from leaving the country until they have worked for 5 years. Not President Emeka Origi told the BBC that the government had promised that some payments would be made next month. This is despite President Muhammadu Buhari leaving office on the 29th of May. The doctors say they will monitor the situation for 2 weeks before deciding on the next line of action.
Now moving over, airstrikes hit Khartoum as 7-day ceasefire approaches. Sudan's army conducted airstrikes at the capital Khartoum on Monday, residents said, seeking to win ground against its paramilitary rivals hours before a week-long ceasefire aimed at allowing delivery of aid was due to take effect. The army also carried out airstrikes into the evening on Sunday, witness said, targeting vehicles from mobile units of the paramilitary rapid support forces that have been operating across residential areas in the capital since the conflict between the two military factions erupted on April the 15th. Both sides have said they will abide by a ceasefire starting at 9:45 p.m. local time. Though fighting has continued through previous ceasefires, this is the first truce to be formally agreed following negotiations. The ceasefire deal includes a monitoring mechanism involving the army and the RSF, as well as representatives from Saudi Arabia and the United States, which brokered the agreement after talks in Jeddah.
Wrapping up our top stories, DR Congo leader to visit China this week, minerals trade deal signing expected. The president of minerals-rich Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, will visit China from the 24th to the 29th of May and is expected to meet President Xi Jinping to review and sign several key trade deals. A meeting would pave the way for the two countries to formally overhaul and seal a $6 billion infrastructure for minerals deals with Chinese investors. The visit was announced by the Chinese Foreign Ministry on Monday. Tshisekedi instructed his government at a cabinet meeting on the 19th of May to move ahead with talks on the deal with Chinese counterparts after the DRC government and other stakeholders consolidated their position. A DRC government statement said. Now he informed cabinet members that a task force looking at the deal had submitted its conclusions, enabling discussions with Chinese partners to commence in the coming days. During the visit to China, the two heads of state will hold talks and attend the signing ceremony of cooperation documents together, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said.
That is it for our top stories. We do have more coming up on after the break on Good Morning Africa after the break. Stick around.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Top.
Jou is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik gaan byt.
You're still watching Africa. Good morning. Now, the newly elected chairperson of the Hospitality Association of Namibia, Mr. Ali Kareura, talks about the importance of skills development and training in the tourism sector. Han CEO Geta Patold also talks about the difficulties the sector is facing. Let's take a look.
Aiming to, and I think we made at least a successful attempt, and the outcome of this will show whether we manage to reach our goal. Bring all the trainers that provide training for the travel and tourism industry here in Namibia, and some of our industry players, not only from accommodation, but travel agents, tour operators, car rentals, all under one roof, in one room, to talk with one another, not to one another. We want to talk amongst ourselves to really address what has become one of the biggest challenges facing tourism since COVID-19. It seems that we in tourism deal with the big C's all the time. So it was COVID 2-3 years ago. Now it's careers and curriculum development. We don't seem to make our mark in terms of where we want to take this industry in terms of skills efficiency.
This is one of the most exciting meetings you can ever think of, like full house, industry represented, trainers represented. This meeting was long overdue. I've been part of the skills development committee of NTB, and I remember Sam Shikongo has been one of the advocates of this meeting to happen, and Now it is happening. We know exactly what is happening in this industry, and I think that speaks to the attendance. We've lost skills. We've lost chefs, we've lost pilots, we've lost anybody you can think of in this industry. When the industry recovered, we were looking around, everybody just cannot be found. I'm coming from Indaba in South Africa, talking to fellow hospitality industry people, struggling with the same. You know, people just asking the question, where did the people go to? Because they cannot just be found. I heard some of the pilots have become mechanics, and they tend to love their newfound passion. Chefs, we've lost quite a lot of them to hospitals and other institutions. So we are suffering. As you know, the hospitality industry, unfortunately, is one of the most labor-intensive industries. We don't have a choice. We need people. For a very long time in Namibia, the issue of training has always been a very sore issue. Few people have been training. Many of us have not been training, from what I get. A few months ago, I got a call from NTA saying that we are standing with 980 million of money which should be used for training. And can you do something? I was quite surprised because there is money, we are just not training. What is the problem? I think that's the reason why we are now here today, to find out from each other what is the problem. I'm sure I will be preaching to the converted if I have to speak about the importance of training and the effect of training onto our business. I'm sure if we have well-trained staff, we deliver better profit, we have less losses, and we grow. And it seems that that has not been maybe the conviction of many of us as business leaders, and that's why we are now experiencing what we are experiencing. And of course, some people have always been saying, yeah, what if I train and the people leave? I think that's mostly our problem, because we have to train to retain. And what if we don't train and those whom we don't train don't leave? Then we have a problem. So I think we should start working on sustainability. The 3 Ps, the profits, the planet, and the people. I think it should be the other way around. It should start with the people, because the people affect the profit and the planet being the issue of sustainability. We need to bring about the balance.
Let's get into your economic news. Buhari commissions Africa's biggest oil refinery. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari is commissioning a $19 billion single-train oil refinery, the largest of its kind in the world, and built by Africa's richest person, billionaire businessman Aliko Dangote. The government hopes the refinery would turn Nigeria, Africa's biggest oil producer, from an importer of refined fuels to an exporter and put an end to recurring fuel shortages while creating tens of thousands of jobs. The size of about 130 football fields, Dangote Industries has built it as the world's largest single-train petroleum refinery, meaning it will have only one crude distillation unit. The project, launched in 2017, is located in the Lekki area of Lagos State off the Atlantic Ocean and is expected to process 650,000 barrels of crude oil a day. The refinery, 20% owned by the state, is not expected to operate at full capacity until 2024. At full capacity, it can meet 100% of the Nigerian requirement of all refined products and also have surplus for export, Dangote Industries said in a statement last week. Mr. Buhari is commissioning the plant in one of his last public acts before he steps down as president next Monday, following 2 terms in office. He will hand power to Bola Tinubu, who won disputed presidential elections in February.
Now moving over to our next story, how Tanzania trades with the world's leading economies. Integrating with the leading world economies through trade and global value chains in a win-win situation and in an inclusive manner is a suitable way that will help drive the country's economic growth that counts, experts say. Going by the International Monetary Fund latest report, the size of Tanzania's economy will likely climb to $136 billion over the next 5 years from this year's projected $85.4 billion. Analysts believe that if that dream is to come true, working together with the leading economies to increase economic investment in the country and strengthen economic ties could be a shared goal. In the next 5 years, the 5 leading economies will be the US, People's Republic of China, India, Japan, and Germany in that order, according to the IMF report. The report forecasts the GDP of the US, whose economy is fueled by high productivity, transportation infrastructure, and extensive natural resources, to jump from a projection of $26.85 billion this year to $32.35 billion in the next 5 years.
Up next is the economic indicators before we get into your sports news.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and we start off with golf today, and it's the world golf rankings for men. That was after the conclusion of the PGA. That was the second major of the year on the men's calendar. That was the Oak Hill, played at Oak Hill. It was the PGA that was concluded, and that was in the United States of America, and the winner is Brooks Koepka from the United States of America, winning with a total of -9. And significant for him is that he moves quite a bit up in the world rankings as well. He moves from 44 to number 13 in the world. He's quite high in the world rankings because he plays in the Saudi Arabian-backed breakaway league, the Live Golf League, and he's not playing on the PGA or the European Tour at the moment. Also, Bryson DeChambeau, also playing on the Live Golf League. He also jumped from 214 to number 90th in the world. That's after also ending in the top 10 on the PGA or in the PGA the past weekend. At the moment, it is world number 1 is Scotty Scheffler. He takes over from Jon Rahm. Scotty Scheffler finished second in the PGA, so he's the new world number 1 on the world rankings. Jon Rahm of Spain moves to number 2 in the world, and Rory McIlroy is number 3. Moving on to tennis news, and it is Roland Garros that starts this week. It starts with qualifying games, qualifiers that start trying to get into the tournament. The main draw will be made on Thursday, and the first round will be played on the 28th of May this coming weekend. According to world rankings, the men's number 1 seed will be Carlos Alcaraz of Spain, and the number 2 seed will be Novak Djokovic, and the 3rd seed will be Daniil Medvedev that just won the past weekend. He won the Italian Open. He's in good form. He's not normally a player that wins on clay. It was his first major win on clay the past weekend, beating Holger Rune in the final in the Italian Open in Rome. It is Daniil Medvedev, the number 3 seed, then in the French Open in Roland Garros, and Holger Rune will be number 7 seed. In the women's division, it is Elena Rybakina that won the Italian Open in Rome. She will be number 6 seed in the French Open, and the number 1 seed will be Iga Swiatek of Poland. Number 2 will be Aryna Sabalenka, and number 3 seed Jessica Pegula of the United States of America. All three, the number 1, 2 and 3 in the world rankings at the moment, didn't have a good Italian Open in Rome on clay, so they hope to have a better tournament in the French Open at Roland Garros. Southern African interest, it will be Ons Shabir that from Tunisia. She is number 7 seed, and she will proudly represent the African continent in the Roland Garros, the French Open. Continuing international sports news with cycling news, and after stage 15 of the Giro d'Italia, it is Bruno Armirail of France that leads. He's got a combined time of 61 hours, 38 minutes and 6 seconds. He's leading by 1 minute and 8 seconds over Gareth Thomas that led earlier in the week, and it is Primož Roglič that is 1 minute and 10 seconds in 3rd position. There's a rest day on Monday, and then stage 16 will be a tough stage, 203 kilometers, and there's lots of climbs. The tour will climb on that day by 5,200 meters, and also from kilometers 181 to kilometers 200, it will be a very steep climb. Then they finish with a few kilometers down to the finish. Southern African interest at the moment, it is still Ryan Gibbons that's in the tour. He's way back in 67th position, but he's 1 hour and 40 minutes behind the leader at the moment, but still hanging on, and being in the tour is already a good achievement by the South African. And closing off today's international sports news is Formula 1 racing news. This coming weekend, this Sunday, it will be the Monaco Grand Prix, the next one on the calendar. That was after the Emilio Romagno Grand Prix in Imola was cancelled the past weekend because of flooding in the Italian region there. It's also Formula 1 that announced that they will donate €1 million, that is towards the flood disaster. At the moment, it is Max Verstappen in his Honda, Red Bull Honda, that is still comfortably leading in the point system. He will be one of the favorites to win in Monaco, and being challenged obviously by Aston Martin, also by Ferrari and Mercedes-Benz that hope to do better in the street race in Monaco. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
You're still watching Africa Good Morning. If you're just joining us, here are the news highlights. Probe as Malawi fire guts sensitive state offices. South African ministers' lavish home expenses raise eyebrows. Nigerian doctors suspend strike. Buhari commissions Africa's biggest oil refinery.
And with that, we've come to the end of our show. Do remember that you can catch Africa Good Morning tomorrow, same time, same place. I am Glenn Rashipura.
And I am Diana Master, and we wish you a lovely Tuesday ahead.